Good morning, everybody, and welcome to one of my favorite days in the canyons, because any day spent in a Miata on a curvy road or a track is going to be a very good day. And if you don't believe me, disagree with me, or you think these cars are stupid or for girls or whoever, I'm going to explain to you why you're wrong. This is the 2019 Miata RF Club. It's the hardtop convertible version of the Miata. Obviously, the first one had a soft top, and then in the third generation, which is the NC, they made a hardtop convertible. Some people complained it was heavy, blah, 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 blah. So when the ND Miata was made, they put in a lot of effort to lighten it, all the cars, including the hardtop. So this center section goes back and tucks in behind the rear seat, or behind the seat, but it actually leaves the trunk the same size as it was before you closed it, which is pretty clever and cool. I like the fact that when I put a suitcase in the trunk and then put the top down, it doesn't look like a sandwich that I accidentally sat on. So why are these cars so great? Why do journalists, club racers love them? Why are they raced so much? Why are they driven so much, despite having what people might call a small engine, or they look tiny, blah, blah, blah? I'm going to try to explain it to you. Now, I know this car doesn't have a twin turbo LS or 1,000 horsepower or a 40-inch lift kit. What I'm going to try to do today is explain to you why you need to drive one of these. You don't need to buy one necessarily, but you need to borrow one or Turo one or test one at a dealership, because it will probably change how you judge cars for the rest of your life. Now, the original Miata, the NA, it came out, it had a 1.6 liter, it made 130 horsepower. So when they made the ND, this fourth generation, it was sold in other markets with a 135 horsepower engine. But the people at Mazda knew that that would not be enough for the US market. And that's true. That is a really low amount of power. It doesn't change the chassis, of course, which is still really fun, but it's just not enough. So it was sold with a 155 horsepower 2-liter, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. But the car can do so much. You know, people put V8s in these things, and the chassis just takes it, handles it. You know, they still drive great. They don't get upset no matter if you turbo them or supercharge them. Like, they're really, really amazing in that way. That's a quality that very few cars on Earth have. So when you got in the 150 horsepower car, it left you wanting. It really did. So for 2019, they kind of hot rodded the engine. It breathes better. It redlines at 7,300 now, or 7,500, and it makes 26 more horsepower. It makes 181. 26 horsepower would be a jump that would land in marketing materials if it was a new Mustang GT. This is a 2,400 pound car that, you know, made a huge jump in power relative to its original size. So how does it work? It works really well. It works really, really well. That's how it works. It's a great feeling engine. You know, I've driven other cars that have 2 liters, even with more power than this, and things like the BRZ, and they don't feel like they have a power band. They feel like they kind of have a power ramp, and you're just always waiting for the top. It doesn't really show up. You know, there's no like, all right, wow, there are so many squirrels today. The torque and power never seem to like hit you or build. This feels great. This is one of the better inline-4 engines I've ever driven. It has a power band you can feel, but it doesn't peak too early like a turbo BMW does. It also doesn't peak too late like a single turbo Supra. It's just got a really nice fat torque curve, and it makes power all the way to redline. So, I mean, think about what is enjoyable about flooring a car, any car. Okay, school bus, doesn't matter. When you were 16 or 60, really, the feeling of pushing your foot to the floor is like a tactile one. It makes you think, oh, I'm doing something a little bad. You know, I'm about to have some fun. I'm getting on it. Whatever it is, steer. It feels really great. This car gives you that feeling. Do you need the new engine? I think you should go for it. Doesn't matter what spec the Miata is. It's a great, smooth, powerful, efficient engine. Steering is really good. It's an electronic system, so at low speeds, it adds a lot of assistance and makes it easy to park and turn. I mean, this thing U-turns like a skateboard. It's crazy. But once you start speeding up a little bit, the weight gets really nice. It's really accurate. I can feel the front tires. I can feel the bumps of all the wheels through the steering wheel. I can really tell what the car is doing and what it's being told by the road. You can get on it so hard in this car, and your feet think you're going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then you look down and you're just, oh, okay, I'm not doing anything crazy. Some people might complain that the interior is cramped, but I think given what they have, it's pretty roomy. I have good elbow room. I could sit next to someone about my size and it would be fine. I think I could fit in this with a helmet on, I hope, but if you're taller than 5'10", you might have to go with a soft top with a roll bar if you want to do a lot of track days. I think it's a little too close to the roof. I think they did a really good job with interior materials. The bright work on the gauges is a really good callback to the NA Miata and to British Roadsters before that. The steering wheel looks really nice, feels great. Both the diameter of the wheel, the stitching on it feels awesome. The shifter feel, some of the best on the market today. It's accurate. It feels notchy, but in a way that helps you know where the gates are, not in a way that kind of impedes your shifting. Some of the materials, like the HVAC controls, feel a little cheap, but remember, when they designed the ND, they tried to cut a ton of weight out of the car. Like they were, cutting holes in glass and removing sound deadening, and that's why the soft top weighs 2,300 pounds. So this one is only about 100 pounds more than that car. So the controls aren't going to be made of like aluminum and metal, because that would add a lot of weight. But I think they did do a nice job of using a variety of plastics and kind of soft touch stuff. So it kind of breaks up what could have been a large, monotonous black wall of dashboard. They also have some clever touches. I think the cup holders are awesome. They're removable. You don't really need them in there. If you're on a track day, or if you have a passenger that doesn't want their knee to bump into it, you can just pop them out, boom, put them in the cubby. How fast did the top go down? There's this weird thing where it's like a drag race of how fast a top can go down in a convertible today. I think it's like 18 seconds. I don't know. I'll time it. So one thing about the hardtop, you can't operate it if you're traveling more than 6 miles per hour. So you might be sitting there thinking, what if there's a sudden rainstorm or a hailstorm, or bats start flying all around me and attacking my head? How long will it take for me to put up this cover? Well, let's find out in what will clearly be the most exciting television of the day. Go. Hatch is opening. Doesn't infringe on the trunk space at all, which is very good. We are bat-proof now, and locked. 12 seconds, 14 seconds. I really don't think that's a big deal. For the most part, everything in the car feels incredibly well built and high quality. Miatas have a reputation, and they've had this for 2 decades, of being really reliable, really cheap to operate, and you can drive the heck out of them for 1,000,000 miles. And I think this feels just like that. With one exception, there's a buzz. At 3,100 RPM, there's a little buzz that makes 2 panels rub together, and it sounds kind of weird. See if you can hear it. You hear that? It sounds like a dentist is doing work on a duck, and the duck is trying to respond to questions while getting a cavity drilled out, How was your weekend? It's the only thing. It's the only thing I've noticed in this whole car. Weird. There's one big negative for this car, and that's the price. In this spec, it's about $38,000. I know. The RF Club is $33,000 base, but this has optional Recaros, wheels, and Brembos, which raises it by about $4,000. And I feel like that's a lot of money for a car that is indeed small, slow, and noisy. I can deal with those qualities when the payoff is the car is reliable but also affordable. But this is really a second car for most people. It's going to be a weekend toy, you know, or a track toy. And if you're going to spend $38,000 on a car that's going to be dedicated to track use, you should either buy a spec Miata that's already modified and caged, or you could buy a used Camaro SS1LE, or even like try and find a good deal on a Mustang GT, because I don't think that all that money is going to go into the track experience. Like, the chassis and the driving are going to be really good, but there's a lot of parts to a car that don't really matter for track use, like, you know, suede seats and leather and a nice dash and Apple CarPlay, which this has. The price is hard to swallow. The good news is Miata will sell you a car in all manner of trim levels starting in the 20s. So if you want a stripped out car with an open diff just to enjoy on the weekends, you can get that for like 25 grand. That's really good. I think this car is a good value at $33,000. I like the security of the hardtop. I like the way it looks. I like the interior, the experience. I like the chassis. I like all those different things. 38, I don't know. You know, I'd have to drive back to back a $33,000 car and a $38,000, but these seats don't fit me that great. I think I'd be fine with the normal ones and a set of good pads and some fluid. But if you've never driven a Miata, you need to. Turo it, rent it, borrow it, whatever. Because what it's going to do is it's going to change how you judge other cars. It's going to change how you assess a car's steering feel, how it talks to you through the seat and through your feet, how it leans in a corner, how it handles. It will, if you've only driven like really big floaty cars or things that weren't set up right, driving a Miata is going to teach you what it's supposed to be like. That's why the Skip Barber Miata School is so good, and that's why I was so sad when it closed. That's what these are really good for. So thank you for watching my love letter to the Miata. Thank you to Mazda for letting me borrow this car for a week and make this video. Thank you guys for watching, supporting us, listening to the podcast, buying the t-shirts, all that stuff. We really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day, and I'm going to go drive some more corners.